Now it's time to get the inside scoop on all the electricity going on in Mississippi Thunder Speedway. It's time for Thunder Talk with Dan Bailey, brought to you by Jailhouse Saloon. Now, here's your host, Dan Bailey.
Another week on our hands, but believe it or not, no green flag action this Friday night at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Actually, a bye week this Friday night. Heck, I tell you, you could use it to head on over to Arcadia and enjoy some of the Ashley for the Arts performances that will be taking place this Friday night. But we are going to spend this week looking back at last Friday night at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, and one gentleman who I know is going to be happy to chat with us this week joins us on Thunder Talk. I'm speaking with Josh Angst, four-time track champion at Mississippi Thunder Speedway and last Friday night's feature winner in the River City Manufacturing USRA Modified Division. First of all, Josh, welcome to the program and congratulations on the feature win last week.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me on here.
You and I joked around a little bit in Victory Lane last Friday night. Seemed like you waited just about as long as possible to pick up your first feature win of the season at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Were you getting nervous at all now that we were into the final month of regular season action?
Yeah, I definitely was. Kind of started off struggling this season over there anyway, and didn't really get in a groove, and finally about 3 weeks ago we started getting closer and closer and finally got it done this week.
You do have other feature wins this year. You were telling me you've got a couple over at Chateau, which is probably where you're going to head this Friday night, and a feature win at Deer Creek. So it's not like you've had a terrible season at all, but when you seem to come up dry at what I think everyone, including yourself, would kind of consider your home track, does it at all get frustrating, or is that the sort of scenario that just pushes you to dig deeper and try a little harder?
Well, actually a little bit of both. I mean, we came out of the box really good at Deer Creek and we won the opening night there. But then we went to Fountain City and we just were struggling, and of course we just kept digging and trying stuff, and finally we got where we needed to be, and been pretty good at both tracks now.
Folks who may not be regulars to the dirt track stock car scene may not understand how a four-time track champion could struggle, could have difficulties. Do you know exactly what it is? Can you track it down to one or two or a handful of things that you feel like maybe had you struggling through the first two-thirds of this year, at least at MTS?
Yeah, not really like major one thing. It was the same car, but we did a lot of updates to it and a lot of new stuff, suspension-wise, and just the whole setup. Did change it a little bit over winter, so it didn't seem to work quite as well there, but we finally just kept tweaking on it and got closer.
It's interesting that we were talking about what seems like a struggle for 2019 at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, but if we look at the point standings, it's right down to a single point separating yourself from the current point leader Dustin Sorensen. So even though it took you until the first week of August to get that first feature win at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, by no means is this a bad 2019 at the year. It just maybe doesn't have the number of feature wins that you've seen in the past.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We've been running pretty good, close to the front anyway, top fives, but just not quite parked in the victory lane, and that's what we've been waiting for. But it feels good to get that one out of the way, and hopefully we can get another one or two here to finish off the year and maybe pick up that points championship.
It seems like Dustin has also come to life here over these last couple of weeks. So as we get into these last couple of weeks of points chasing for this track championship, which could potentially be your fifth at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, do you start to think about altering your plans for where to run on an evening just to try to beat Dustin? Or do you have to keep the whole class in your mind and take what you can get, run where you can, and just focus on your racing?
Yeah, I really just got to focus on my race, and if we do good and we get that championship, that's what's meant to be. I guess I'm not going to worry too much about it. We just got to go out and race our race. Dustin's been really solid all year, so it's fun to race against him. We've raced really clean and hard, and if he wins it, I guess he'll earn it, so it'll be a good battle all the way to the end.
So if you were to look at 2019 as a whole, and the struggles that you had a little earlier this year at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, but then mixed in with the successes that you've had at Deer Creek or over at Chateau, what sort of grade do you feel like you can give yourself at this point in the season, even though we have another month to go to complete August? How are you feeling about 2019?
I'd say it's been pretty good overall. I'd say maybe a B+ or A-. It definitely hasn't been outstanding year, but it's been pretty good. We've been really consistent as far as still finishing top 5 and top 10 for sure, but just didn't quite rattle off as many wins as we wanted. But I think we're still sitting top 2 or 3 in national points, and it's been been a pretty good year.
You know, one thing that I have noticed being up in the announcer's booth over the last few weeks, when your season really has been coming to life at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, is it seemed like the groove maybe has changed a little bit. Dustin Sorensen, yourself, Brad Waits, just about as high as physically possible on that racetrack. I mean, literally scraping the concrete lap after lap. Is that at all playing into your hand these last few weeks?
Yeah, I don't know. The car's been really good up there, and it's been good there at Deer Creek, too, on the wall. So that definitely is helping, I guess. I like that, too. As far as my driving style, I think it fits it pretty well. I used to hate that, but now I've been liking it more and more. I run around the top side and right on the wall. That right rear fender's been getting used up every week.
You know, that leads me directly into the next question that I was actually going to ask. Some drivers will either say openly, admit to it, or you can kind of see when you watch them through the years, they really enjoy or they really want to be in one particular part of the track. Some guys really like to be down at the bottom, and they will try as hard as possible to get down to the bottom. Some guys or gals like to be up at the top or in the middle. And then there's another class of racers who will race wherever they need to go, wherever that car is going to be the fastest, wherever that track is giving them a little better opportunity. They'll figure out how to get there. What sort of a class do you put yourself in? Are you always trying to get to the same part on the track week after week, or you just chase that groove wherever it tells you to go?
Pretty much just chase that groove. I really like to run in the middle. The track is just completely slicked off top to bottom and black. I would like to run the middle, but the way it's been lately, that top side's got just enough moisture up there and right on the wall, so that's where it's fastest, and that's where we got to go.
Another thing that those of us who spend a lot of time talking with you racers learn through the years is that there are three other distinct groups of racers. One group is the racers who will start planning for the next year during the off season. Once that final race is done, they'll start tearing things down, rebuilding, or they'll start, going out to purchase a new one. A second group is that group of racer that will wait until, a month or a couple of weeks before opening night. They'll really start getting things in gear. And then there's this third group of racers who seems like they're in perpetual planning mode for the next season. You could be a couple of weeks into the year and they're already thinking about not only what they have to do this season, but what they have to do next season. So where does Josh Angst and Angst Racing sit? Do you wait until this whole season is done, take a little time to digest how it went, and then start making some plans for next year? Or are you already thinking about what you might do differently or what sort of changes you might make for 2020?
Yeah, our season never ends. We're always thinking about it. We're already getting in plans of what we're going to do for next year, and so yeah, we're definitely always thinking about what's next.
Well, I'm excited to hear that you're in that group, so that leads me into the next one. What can we as race fans expect from Josh Angst for 2020? Any major changes, or is it going to be minor alterations to your existing racing program?
It'll probably be pretty similar. We're probably going to upgrade our car to a new car, but otherwise we're probably going to be the same brand. Stick with Mars. He's been really good to us, so we'll stick with him and just update all our stuff and be ready to go.
A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Brandon Davis on Thunder Talk, and he said it is sometimes mind-boggling, quite amazing how each car, regardless of how it was built, could be using the exact same steel, the exact same weld pattern, the exact same jig, but each car has its own unique personality and feel, and as a driver, he can tell the difference between all those different chassis. Do you start to get nervous when you are making these plans for going to a new car that you might inadvertently or unluckily come up with one of those cars that just doesn't quite feel as good as you've had in the past?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a little bit scary, especially when you jump out of a car that's been really good to us here, especially right now in the season. But Jimmy builds a really good car, and he's been really consistent, so out of the box, they come pretty quick. Then you really just got to kind of keep making small changes to adjust according to your driving style and what fits you best.
Angst Racing not only has been successful on the track with your championships, your feature wins, etc., but you guys seem to have the whole package where you're successful off the track as well. And by that I mean you have established some great and long-lasting relationships with some local and area businesses. Give us a rundown of who's enjoying your 2019 season along with you.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't do it without them, so I really want to thank them all here. Rory's Home Improvement, Mike Kramer Painting and Drywall, Culver's of Winona, JMF Motorsports, Volkman Appliance, RDR Services, Earthquake Trucking, Redbox Recycling, Weir's Machine and Racing Products, Newman Oil and LP, Speedworks Headers, Stone Racing Engines, MB Customs Race Cars, Swift Springs, CMD Race Shocks, Dirt Dolls Racewear, Buck Monson Photos, 49 Designs, and a special thanks to Rick and Annie, and also a special thanks to Puck. And then, of course, I couldn't do it without my wife and parents. They spent so much time in our program, so really couldn't do it without them.
Well, Josh Angst, I appreciate you joining us this week on Thunder Talk. I know we don't get to see you this Friday night, but best of luck over at Chateau, which is where you are heading this Friday, and we will see you in a couple of weeks when we get back on the track at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Again, Josh, thanks for joining us this week, and best of luck this coming weekend.
Thank you.
Remember, race fans, no green flag action this Friday night at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, but I can guarantee you that we will be back for more dirt track fun the following Friday night at MTS. For those of you listening on the radio, don't forget you can hear the entire discussion that Josh and I had for this week's edition of Thunder Talk by visiting the Mississippi Thunder Speedway YouTube channel. Check it out. I know you'll enjoy it.
Come on down to the Jailhouse Saloon. Yeah, come on down to the Jailhouse Saloon.
The Jailhouse Saloon is where everyone wants to do time. Come on in and nab up some of the best homemade pizza around. The Jailhouse has happy hour weekdays from 2 until 6, free pool on Mondays, and lunch every day at a great price.
The Jailhouse Saloon where everyone wants to do time.